All right, so now we're going to be going into our knife defense series. And so these are just basic Hapkido knife defenses. And the idea behind these is that they are all conceptual. So some of them will work in specific times and others will work in other specific times. And when one doesn't work, the idea is that we keep transitioning and still keep fighting for either distance to get ourselves safe or to pin that person and get them down to the ground or get that knife away from the person. So what we're doing is we're starting off with a training knife. Now they can be wooden. With this specific training knife is metallic, so that way you can be able to see it much better. And I like the metal knives because they're rounded, but also that cold steel to your body, to your neck, lets you feel it just a little bit better. But the wooden knives are also good because they are much more economical and they are less expensive. So we're starting off with the first one. And the first one from this position, you can see he's coming in and he's stabbing. He can stab at the face, he can stab at the body, but the idea is I need to get myself offline. Now, if I see this knife, it's not going to be in this position. You know, at least I'm going to have my hands up a little bit and starting to take a stance. Now, obviously, the first technique, and then we call this technique 0, is called the Nike technique. So I'll show you this technique first because it's really easy. It's run. Okay, so after that technique is done, then we go into technique number 1, and technique number 1 is offline. Okay? So all I'm doing is when he's coming in, I'm getting offline. Now with my hand, I'm keeping my elbow down. I'm not reaching over, because even if I come offline and I reach over and he's sticking, it's going to catch me. So the idea is making sure that my elbow's down and I have this monkey grip or this cobra grip right here, and then from this position, it's 1. And see how I get this to hook immediately. So I get it offline, and I get it to hook. Now I take this hand, and I'm putting my palm of my hand on his wrist. My elbow is hooking around his elbow. Now if for whatever reason this technique doesn't go right, there are so many other different variations of this just by holding on right here. And the knife is pointing away from me. From this position right here, I'm taking my hand, the opposite hand, and I'm putting it along the line of his fingers. Now what this does for me is it solidifies his grip onto the knife. If I grab onto his wrist here or onto his wrist here, he can easily take it with the other hand and start stabbing me. If I take my fingers and solidify that grip, if he tries to take it for whatever reason and fight for it, he's not going to be able to get it out of his hand. Now from here, I'm going to step in and face him, and I'm going to step back and turn it to him. So what I'm doing is pushing my whole body into him so that knife is going close to him. Now as I do this, I'm pulling down with one hand. So this hand right here is pulling down to my stomach. This hand is still rolling forward into his body. So I'll show you the technique again slowly. It's 1, get your body offline. 2, we get that hook, and you see how I'm stepping. Now I'm going to move him a little bit as I do this. 1. Now from here I start hooking. 2, and I keep this rolling in. Now notice I don't take it up high because this would be bad. I could cut my neck and cut my own eyes. Anything close to my face and my neck, I don't want to have that knife anywhere near that. So I'm keeping it down low and the knife is facing away from me. Now I'm going to point it back towards him, and I'm going to put a little bit of pressure down and lower my base. 1. Now from here, if I can, I will create a slicing motion to his neck. It's just going to be a surface slice. Some people will say you're going to catch their arteries. You're not, because it takes a lot more than that to catch arteries. But if you get him seeing his own blood, he starts thinking twice about what he's doing at this point. Now from here, I'm going to continue pushing through. I'm going to let it down. Now, when I place this knee right here underneath his arm and putting this foot right here underneath his shoulder, this is where we get to very, very important parts of this, because he's going to be fighting for that knife. But if I take this hand and break dance it around, so see I'm still keeping pressure, still holding on to this one. I'm not going to fumble. All I'm going to just do is turn my hand 1, and from here, I'm going to take my hand in a cupped position along the back of the blade. Okay, so not here on the sharp part of the blade, on the back side of the knife, I'm going to cup one side and the other side, and I'm going to use a ratchet motion. So this ratchet motion pulls it out, but because I'm going to be hyper adrenalized I don't want to cut myself, so I'm going to take a big step back. 1. If I need to, at this point, we're still fighting, I'll let the knife just slide down to this grip, and it's brachial artery. Okay? Now, that is completely unnecessary unless it's necessary. So it really comes down to his how much he's fighting you. I'll say it again. It's completely unnecessary unless it's necessary. If he's still fighting you and you feel like it's dire enough to be able to cut that brachial artery, go ahead. If not, take that knife and get your distance. So again, we're getting off the line. See how I get this hook and I get this hand here. So we do it, it should be almost instantaneous. 1, see where I'm right here. Now what we're doing essentially is getting a positive negative grip. It means one hand is facing the one way, one hand's facing the other way. So if he's trying to pull this knife back, I can still hold on. Now all I'm doing from here is turning. You see I'm keeping it close to him and keeping it down towards my belly button, keeping my knees bent. From here, little slicing motion, and I glide down from here. It's a basic cavalier lock. Now watch my hand. See how I don't let go of his hand. I'm keeping it close. I'm going to back it up here, and I'm going to be on one side and the other side. I'm not grabbing all the way around the knife. Obviously, I don't want to cut myself. And from here, I'm going to take one big step back. 1. And this right here, again, is a protective mechanism. Let me show you what could happen. 1, you stick yourself because you're so excited. So when you take that step back, it sometimes looks like people are posing, but the idea behind that is that it keeps you from getting yourself cut, and it gives you distance immediately. Okay? So same thing, now we're going at speed. And that right there is knife defense number 1. And you notice that I did not cut that brachial artery because it is completely unnecessary until it is necessary. And that is number 1. Thank you very much.